thanks for coming in and doing this video shoot with us, and being able to sit down and take some questions regarding a review with SoCalCycling.com. When did you get into cycling?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for the help and the support. And when I got into cycling, I got in it at a young age, like 5 or 6, mainly because of my dad, who was also a cyclist, and he always trained and raced also. And he influenced me to start riding a bike as well. And from there on out, I just got hooked, and here I am today.
Awesome. So, who was your biggest influence besides your parents in just getting you into cycling originally?
Yeah, well, in the first part, it was mainly my dad who really influenced me, and I always looked up to, and also my grandpa, who was mainly the first person to start cycling, passed it to my dad, and my dad passed it on to me. So I usually looked up to both of them, my dad and my grandpa.
Awesome. And then who motivates you, or who's currently, I guess, big influence on you right now in cycling?
A perfect influence for me is a good friend of mine, Orlando Garibay, who's a Mexican racer who also raced here as well. And I had an opportunity to train, race, everything with him, and he's always motivated me to push on further and further, taking me to limits that I didn't know I could go to. And to this day, I still see him the same way, and he's still the reason why I keep pushing myself to become a pro like him.
How did you guys meet?
Well, we met here when in local races here, when I think he was around 1920, and I was just a junior. And from there on, we just kept talking, and as I kept progressing, he was also progressing as well. And even though he was stronger than me and everything, I still kept pushing myself because I wanted to be just like him, just to be on the same level. And to this day, I'm still pushing further and further.
Cool. Yeah, I know he's a pretty studly rider. As far as with the pandemic going on and everything, what are you doing to stay motivated and focused? I know it's there's no races going on right now, with the numbers being really high, and so what are you doing to stay motivated and focused? I guess heading into next year.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to stay motivated. Like you said, there's no races, there's nothing at all, so it's kind of hard to train with motivation. But I found that instead of finding this sport as an obligation or as a job, I'm trying to find the fun into it. So every time I go out and ride, I don't feel forced. I just feel like I have to have fun. So I always ride with a group of friends or in a peloton, anywhere, and just try to have fun. And while I'm having fun, I'm getting fit. So, 2 birds, 1 stone. And that's how I'm finding my motivation this year, and see how far it goes on until next year.
Yeah, so you're keeping up with your base, which is, I'm sure that's probably going to help you out. And, as long as you got a key group of friends that you can ride with and stay,
Exactly.
have somebody ride with you. As far as what races you've done and like the biggest races you've done, I know you're young. How old are you right now?
I'm 19.
19. That's pretty young. So coming off of a junior, what are the biggest races you've done as a junior? And maybe your transition heading into the senior. How did you find that? I guess it's a 2-part question, but
Yeah.
The transition from becoming a junior Cat 2 to a Cat 1 this year. How did you find that transition?
Well, I guess to answer the first question, a couple of big races that I've done were nationals. I've done the tour of Dairyland, and mainly I've done a couple of big races, but in Mexico. I've done some classics races down there and some stage races, and that was usually towards the end of the year. And the transition from being a junior to, I guess, a Cat 1 was fairly difficult, because obviously it's a major change, but I was able to find it right away, so it wasn't that difficult like halfway through the year. So it was hard in the beginning, but I got the grasp of it early on, so I was able to stay on, and it was a good transition. As long story short,
So you had
it was
good
a
success racing as a junior, and you were racing Cat 1-2 races as a junior, and then you were able to make that transition pretty solid. Yeah.
The only transition was the gears, practically at that stage of my life. So
yeah, there's always a power, finding that strength and power that you need to race at higher levels. That's always kind of difficult. I know, working with one of the riders that we had last year, and going to college, how how are you able to balance college and racing bikes, and if you're working at all?
Yeah, I mean, especially now, since everything has to be done online. But before, I was able to do classes either in the afternoon, so I can go riding in the morning, or vice versa. And I was able to balance both my school and riding my bike. But since this whole pandemic arrived, everything was done online, and now I have more time on my bike. But I found that I needed something else, so I even got a part-time job, something to keep me busy throughout the day. So I balanced the three things: riding my bike in the morning, doing my schoolwork in the afternoon, and going off to my job like later in the afternoon. And it's keeping me busy, but I feel motivated every day to do something.
Oh, that's good. And I mean, as far as heading into next year, are you going to be? How much more school do you have? And I guess what are your long-term goals for cycling?
Yeah, I mean, for the school, for the most part, I still want to continue my education, so I may tone it down a bit with classes, so I can dedicate myself more on the bike and racing, if there is gonna be, which I hope there is. And my long-term goal is practically almost like every cyclist that comes into the sport, is to become a pro in any type of way, either a Conti, a pro Conti. Even if the biggest dream of all is to make a world tour, that would be a dream of mine.
Right. And working with Abner Gonzalez last year, that was like big news for us. I knew, working with him, he was just laser focused. He was a really successful junior, and he was in the same position you were, where he was making that transition with the gears, and probably the distance was a big thing for him. But I've worked with a lot of riders over the years, and I saw his transition was going to be complete. I knew, having him come over here and race in the United States from Puerto Rico, and then racing in Spain as a junior, I think this was a good experience for him to get to race our highest level races, and then also like the different style of racing that we have here versus like in Europe. And so I think it kind of exposed him to a little bit different, maybe speed and like the technical courses, and for him, I see a lot of similarities in terms of like your youth and everything. I think our team is a good platform to develop the riders to a pro level, whether it's, at a continental level,
Yeah.
pro continental, or even pro tour. So to have Abner get, he just landed a 3-year contract with Movistar. I think that was pretty awesome. I mean, that's the first time that we've had one of our riders, especially at such a young age,
Yeah.
with that much promise, get offered a 3-year deal with a pro tour team. So essentially, I mean, we could see him in one of the pro tour races next year, like Tour Spain or the Giro. I don't think we'll see him in the Tour de France right away, because I think that'll be a year or two down the road, given his age. But that's pretty awesome for him to be able to land a 3-year deal, not just like a 1-year deal, but like 3 years. So they see the potential in him, and I think it's good that our team is there to kind of build a platform for you young guys like yourself,
Yeah.
to be able to, like you said, land a pro contract and see where you can take it. And that's what our team's really been about. This is our 17th year in the peloton, and Christy and I, we've raced professionally, both of us ourselves, so we wanted to be able to kind of, it's a way for us to give back to the sport and kind of help develop riders, but it also allows us to have a marketing tool to use for the website and promote the sponsors that we have that work with us, the site and the team. So I mean, with Abner going all the way, I mean, pretty much to the highest level that you can get. I mean, do you see yourself in a couple, 2-3 years? I mean, is that something that you can see yourself fitting into?
I feel like those things are motivations for someone, especially if you've seen them or raced against them. I always think it like that. If they can make it, anybody else can make it, but you just got to put in the time, the effort, and you got to sacrifice a whole lot. And I feel like anyone can make it, me as well.
Awesome. And then, as far as a coach, I mean, you mentioned Orlando. Is Orlando coaching you or just mentoring you? Is it?
He's Orlando. I understand that he has his stuff going on. He's still racing. He's still training. Sometimes here and there, I'll ask him a question or two, and he'll answer me, and I take it on from there. But mainly, for the most part, I train on my own. So everything I've accomplished or raced or anything I prepared myself for, I've done it all on my own.
Cool. So he just kind of gives you the pointers.
Yeah, he gives me a few
just
pointers.
Just mentoring, basically.
Yeah.
Kind of like what I like to try to do with the riders, not get to, because I mean, if I have to do that for every rider, then I'm gonna, I got to take care of myself at some level. But that's cool. It's always good to have somebody at that level that's raced at a good, high pro level throughout the years, and give you pointers and good motivation for sure. And I mean, what has cycling taught you? I mean, that you can carry into your life every day, and whether it's training, racing, just being.
Cycling has taught me a lot, especially that if you want to become better at something, you have to put in the time, the effort, and a lot of sacrifice goes into a person to reach your goal, because sometimes you have to cancel a lot of stuff so you can go ride. You got to treat yourself perfectly so you can arrive at the race at perfect conditions. So that's taught me a lot about life as well. Sacrificing yourself to do the homework, put in the time to do in the work, and same goes for both ways. So cycling has taught me a lot on the sport, on and off the bike.
Cool, that's good. I mean, it's done a lot for me over the years. From when I started racing BMX at 13. I mean, I think it kind of kept me off the street, and it's just I'm able to give back to the sport, and that's what's cool about it. So yeah, it's done a lot for me, and I've been able to pass on what I can, and help the young riders like yourself and come through the sport. So as far as what races next year you want to be able to do, I mean, what are some key races that you want to try to focus on, as long as we can get past the pandemic, and it looks like we're with the vaccine coming out, looks like we'll be probably starting like mid-season, and then probably carrying a little bit later into the season.
Yeah, for the most part, my big goal is, to do Redlands. For some reason, that's always been my dream, just to do Redlands and finish the race. And, any big stage races further out is also going to be a goal of mine. But for the main part, Redlands is like the goal that I'm reaching right now. And hopefully, if there's any other opportunities for any other stage race, that'll also be my goal, no matter what.
Cool. I know Redlands, Gila, and stage races are hard to come by these days, and
yeah,
it's nice that we have one in our own backyard, and Gila's not too far away, but being able to do those kind of big races like that, and racing with maybe some of the bigger teams that show up, I think will be a good, valuable experience for you guys. Hopefully we get to race next year and be competitive. I'm working on the team this year, now for next year, and there's going to be some changes in the lineup because we had a lot of foreign riders, but once again, I just want to say thanks for riding with us, and sorry we didn't get to compete like we were supposed to compete. And
there's always next year.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully next year we can pick up the pieces, and we're gonna probably add some more domestic type riders to the program, and hopefully we can get back to some of those big races that we're supposed to do this year, and get back on it. So anyhow, that's pretty much wrapping it up for the interview here, and hopefully we can connect on a training ride or something, and